And hi, everybody. Welcome to Rick Snider's Washington. Where you get the whole story, so please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Here for the Washington Commanders live chat. Yeah, I'm a little late. Sorry. My grandkids were here and I forgot. I could make up a lie, but lost track of time with them around. So, doing our Easter celebrations. So, anyway, for those of you who do come, thank you for showing up, even though I'm late. And I will say, I'm not doing a live show on Thursday night for the draft because the team is supposedly picking 29th, and I got to have to talk for 3 hours or something during the draft. So I'll do a video afterwards, but you know, otherwise, no. And as people text me, where are you? Sorry. And what can I tell you? You get old, you forget, So a few of you have joined me. Thank you so much for that. I'm sorry, running late. Yeah, I'm okay, Mike. I just forgot the grandkids were here, and we were throwing stuff at each other as you do on Easter. And yeah. So, Greg, what time Washington pick if they're at 29? Roughly 10:30, 11, somewhere in there, Eastern. Um, I'm not going to the draft party, Crush. Um, actually, I'm tour guiding all day. It's supposed to rain Saturday. It's supposed to rain morning and evening, afternoon, evening. So that's going to be a fun party, I'm sure. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming. So Todd and Steve, sorry guys, they're always first. I threw a curveball here, getting caught up on things. So I was thinking today a while about the draft because we were going to talk tonight. If I had to guess, and that's all I'm doing, tomorrow, Tuesday at 3 o'clock Eastern, General Manager Adam Peters will be talking to the media. And you know what he's going to tell us? He's going to go, So, he's going to go, we could trade up, we could trade down, we might stay who we got, we could take this guy, we could take that guy. And in all honesty, you're not tipping your hand to others anyway. I think anything is in play. I think maybe they could move up, but they don't have a lot of draft capital. They got a 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. I mean, I could honestly, my best scenario would be that they trade down. There's a couple teams that have 2 2s. I could see them doing that because at 29, I've heard a lot of general managers around the league saying, I don't have 32 players with a first round grade. So, you're not going to get, there's great players all throughout the draft, but I don't see the value there so much. And what I was thinking is, okay, let's just say that they do pick. All right. Get my list up here. So my mock draft has them taking Iowa State receiver Jaden Higgins. Gives them an isolation type receiver to complement him and be a third there. And then let's say they get to the second round. Then I think what they should do is get a center. Seth McLaughlin, who was the Remington Trophy winner, playing only 10 games before he broke towards Achilles. That's how good he was. So I could see, would you say, well, center top of their list? Not necessarily, but you don't want to pass on good players. Biadic has 6 years in. He was hurt a little last year. He's a gamer. He's not a bad player. You wanted a veteran center with Jaden. But now I could see if it's right, there's a good player on the board, and you could plug him in eventually. I'd be okay with that. When you're picking at the end of the rounds, you're looking for prospects more than immediate help. So I could see them doing that. That would be my two. Another Jaden. Hey, it's worked out so far. And then get a center. Let's see. Is most of this draft going to be defense, Gregory? I don't think so. I mean, if they stay like they are, and they have 5 picks, well, could 3 of them be defense? Sure. But who are the first 2? That's really matters. Once you get to the 4th round, yeah, whatever. Steve, oh, you're late? Well, yeah, Steve, I've been here the whole time waiting. No, I was late too. So, it is when you get. I remember when I was a kid, really screwed up curfew, but I beat my dad to something by like 2 minutes, and then he was here. I was like, "Yeah, I've been here the whole time, Dad." So, got away with that one. My dad's been dead about 40 years, so can't punish me now. Let's see. What was tailgating like at RFK back in the day, Crush? Well, it was the land of gold and honey, man. Especially Lot 8. It was one I was in mostly parking or whatever. Lot 8 was the one down by the river. Oh, there were tons of food down there. And it was a big lot. And then you had to go through the tunnel and then you would pop up on the stadium. So I can even remember in the early 60s, my dad took me to baseball games there and everybody would moo as they went through it. And my dad would always say, a bunch of drunks. So go about 30 years later, I'm back covering the team and I'm going through that tunnel and everybody's mooing. I was like, whoa, flashback, to that day. And everybody where I was drunk, to be honest. It was one of those little, everybody would go through the tunnel to Lot 8 and it was tight. So, everybody just moved like cattle. But it was good. It won't be that way this time, though. They're going to have, if the DC deal goes through, they're going to have a lot of parking garages, and you can't tailgate in parking garages, not with an open flame. So I don't see that happening. Cook was very much against them back in the day. But now they could use those parking garages for so many other things during non-game days. And I think this new stadium would be used 200 plus nights a year. And Antoinette, my guess is he does trade back. We haven't talked really much about the stadium. Of course, it came out last week that there's a loose agreement between the mayor and commanders over bringing a stadium to RFK, but nothing is signed, nothing's written down. I'll believe it when I see dirt move. But I'll say this about that deal: I think both sides win in the deal that's being talked about, where the city has to put up 850 million, but 350 million out of ticket taxes once it's open. So really 500 million is what they're putting in. And Harris gets to develop the whole 170 acres. He makes money as a developer. He's not going to use it all for football. They're going to want housing. They're going to want stores. He's going to be the developer behind that, make a lot of money. So I think both sides would sign that deal. But here's the problem. Then you got the city council who has to approve it, not the mayor, city council. City council's got a lot of people lined up against it. There's also a ballot issue to try and put it on a referendum, which would force it to go to a November election, I guess. And that could tie things up a while. So let's just say things are moving along, but they're not a done deal. Okay, let's see. Steve, how was my Easter? Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, it was nice. We had a great Easter. It's a little different when you're older and, your kids around. With church and all that stuff was there. So it's not like when you're kids. Let's see. Crush, would it be ideal if they created a dome stadium so they could host Super Bowl? Absolutely. This deal, if this is like a $3.3 billion stadium that they're talking about, team putting up 2.5, it's got to be covered because you're going to need to use it all the time to make the money. Otherwise, tickets are like $4,000 each for the bleachers. I mean, you got to be able to generate a lot of money and jobs and all that kind of stuff. And by doing this, can the city wrangle the NFL into an agreement on a Super Bowl? Hopefully. I mean, we are the nation's capital, so why not on that? Daniel's there. Okay, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate everybody. I was late. So I'll stay a little later, I guess. My fault. And tailgating is a new place. Not going to be a lot of parking. Not going to be anything like it used to be. So will it be tailgating? There'll be a few people there. I'm sure Tailgate Ted will figure it out. But not the widespread stuff like the old days. That's not happening. And if this doesn't happen at RFK, well, Landover stands ready. I'd rather see it in DC. I'd rather see it at RFK. I'm not a hater on this deal. I'm just telling you, there are miles to go before you start cheering. And it's going to be expensive. Your tickets are going to be expensive. Let's see. Gregory, you think they're get their stuff together and present the stadium deal at next month's owners meeting? No, I don't think so. But it's coming. But like I said, city council and all, let me just remind some of you, might not have been around DC for 15 years or whatever. What's it been at? 20 years since 20 years ago, the Nats came. Everybody wanted the Nats to come. It was a very popular thing. But it was a 7-6 city council vote with Marion Barry casting the last one. It was his last big move. They had to promise everybody everything. Everybody wanted special stuff for their district in return for their vote, made it much more expensive. It was a tough, tough thing. And everybody wanted it to happen, and it was still that way. So don't expect anything other than that. You're going to see a lot of headlines in the next few months about, it looks great. Oh, no, it's not looking good. Oh, it looks great. No, it's not looking good. That's how this game is played. That's why Cook moved around 4 different times. Gregory, I saw pictures of a new stadium would be a wooden roof. Well, it wouldn't be a wooden roof. I don't know which pictures you've seen. I've seen proposals, but not so much by the team, just people playing their fantasy games. And the red tape's give me a lot of it. Listen, they need a deal by the end of this year. Then you're going to take at least a year for permits and court appeals and all this stuff. And then maybe you're digging by 2027. And if they do, then they'll make the 2030 season. But this stuff, it takes forever. I covered the last stadium thing. It took from the day Cook announced what he was doing till it opened, I think it was 8 years. It took forever, and Cook didn't live to see it. Kenny, if the city council doesn't approve the move, Portland would be nice. Ain't no way in hell the NFL is moving a team out of the nation's capital to go to Portland. I'll give you any odds you want. Put your money on Venmo and send it. Not happening. DC is a major number 7 TV market and the nation's capital. And if you don't think those politicians wouldn't get involved, they will, because all those senators and Congress people from all over the country used to go to Redskin games down the street all the time, because they live here as much as they live back home. So it's almost their team when it was good. They were big into it. So that ain't happening. Captain Obvious is here tonight. Wow. Will the Hogettes return, or will a new group like the Commanders? Well, they have hog farmers is what they're called. Bunch of guys do a great job raising money for kids with serious illnesses. Sometimes unfortunately the worst, and they do great work. God bless them. So I'm all for the hog farmers, and they don't really make it about them at all. So, and not that the Hogettes used to raise a lot of money too, but they were, look at me, more so than the hog farmers are. Give me a live. Who we taking at 29 or trading down? So most people come and go through this, so I don't mind repeating it. I think my guess is they trade down, try and get 2 2s from somebody. There's a couple of teams that could. They could do that, but let me pull up my list of many options here. Oh, here it is. Looking at other stuff. So if they do have to take somebody, I say Iowa State receiver Jaden Higgins gives them a good complimentary third receiver. And then the second round, I would take Seth McLaughlin, the Remington Trophy winner for best center in the country. I think that's looking ahead there. Defensive end, I don't know. I just, Marshall's Mike Green would be one, but Atlanta's looking at him hard, I hear. So I'm not sure that's there. Maybe Georgia has Michael Williams on there. If you were thinking of running back, well, you of course want Ohio State's guy, Travion, is that how you say it? Henderson, he's probably gone. I mean, there's a lot of talk he'll go between 10 and 15. Iowa's Caleb Johnson might be a second rounder they could grab. Virginia Tech's got a good kid. I don't know how to say his first name, but Tootin had a really great year. Good running back. That's a second rounder, I would think. And then, hey, Cincinnati still may trade Trey Hendrickson. So he's 30 and then last year of a deal. So, I mean, and when you're on the clock, who knows? Maybe they make that deal on the clock. That's a possibility. But I just think a lot of GMs are saying there aren't 32 guys worth a first-round pick. So if Washington's at 29, that means they're really picking second rounders a little early. Now, at 29, you're only a handful of picks from the second round. So, you're not getting that plug-in starter at that point. Crush, what happened to the Hogettes? Actually, they aged out. I mean, some of them have passed away and retired, and their time came and went. Got to remember, they were at RFK 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So, unfortunately, time catches us all. Alexander, saw my Redskins book at Barnes & Noble in Georgetown. I haven't been in there yet. Do I get any money if you buy it there? No. Pretty much no, because it goes through the bookstore gets half, the publisher grabs their end, then I get statements that say, "Oh, you didn't sell anything." So if you'd like to buy a copy, do I have a copy around here somewhere? I probably do. Oh, here it is. Okay. I haven't done this in a while. I'm getting ready to put the cookbook out pretty soon. I was just going over it tonight. But anyway, 100 things Commanders fans should know and do before they die. $20 includes shipping and handling on there. If you'd like a copy, here, I'll put it down. PayPal or Venmo me, and I'll do it. Here's my PayPal. And Venmo. $20. Commander's book and address. And put in your address. So I know where to send it because weird. PayPal puts your address up, but Venmo doesn't. So if you'd like a copy for Father's Day coming up or whatever, I haven't been a whore and sold stuff for a while, but hey, why not? I got my new cookbook, Secrets of Caveman Cooking, probably going to be out the next few weeks. It would have been out, but my graphic designer got very ill and could not do it, and we had to start over, and I had to wait for somebody. So we're getting there. It'll be out before Memorial Day, which is only 5 weeks away now. Easter being so late this year, really strange. So, and let's see, it's 8:42. Do I beg for money since I was late? I guess I have no shame if I do that. But if you see the dollar sign below and you'd like to donate to the show to keep us going, or you can use the PayPal or Venmo just to send in a donation, and that way PayPal doesn't take it all. You can do that too. Or you can just sit there and say, screw you. And if you do that, at least hit the thumbs up button above my head. And that way the algorithm's happy. Whatever. What happened? What caused the marching band to end, Mike? It hasn't. They actually cut it way down because they cut the cheerleaders out for a little bit and had a pep squad or whatever. I would say the whatever they call it now is the cheerleaders, but dressed more conservatively. But they pretty much do the same thing as the cheerleaders used to do. And they'll be back more. I mean, time heals all wounds. The marching band increased greatly. They cut it way down after, the COVID situation and all, but they've slowly been adding the band back, and they should. It's the first marching band in the NFL. They were a great unit for many years. They're all volunteers. And they kind of hit them in the mezzanine, but they come out occasionally and march. Suzanne, thank you for coming. Let's hope Adam does a good thing. Jeff, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And he's watching my 52 series. So I do have a series Sunday morning, 6 a.m., but you can find it on YouTube anytime. 52 questions for God. We ask one question each week. It takes about 5 minutes or so to answer, so you don't have to waste all day on it. We basically break it down as to what's going on real quick and why, and then we're done. So we're doing 52 weeks. And you're wondering about a book. I think we will. I hope to do a book at the end of it with all the 52 shows in it. And if it goes real well, we'll do 52 more questions for God on there. We have an interesting show coming up pretty soon with that, where it's are you still married in heaven, and are you still married to that person in heaven? And I brought up the question of, well, what happens if you've been married 2 or 3 times? I mean, I know people, both spouses were married 2 or 3 times. That's a lot of people in the room. Which one is yours? I mean, I don't know. These are simple questions that we ask, about that you kind of wonder about, but they never talk about in church. So it's on YouTube now. It'll always be on YouTube, really. But we've done 5 shows publicly, taped a few already. I do it with a pastor I've known for 50 years. We went to high school together. So try to do something different than say, do you think a cover 2 can handle the trip receivers on the left weak side? Dude, I can't take this anymore. I've been covering sports almost 50 years now. So I have to have some other interests, especially in the off season. But the draft I'm paying attention to the draft this week too. All right, Crush, has the Ken Cook family ever talked about the team or new ownership? No. I mean, Cook had 2 sons and a daughter. The daughter actually died recently. Suzanne, she was young and died in her 40s, sadly. His son Ralph died of a drug overdose, well, maybe back in the 90s, I think it was. So the only one left um, is John Kent Cook, who runs a winery in Middleburg and keeps to himself. Don't really hear him say anything, and that's okay. Um, Gregory, is there any other stadium places that could still come up, or is it just Landover or RFK? Yeah, I think that's it. There was always this talk about could they squeeze it into Poplar Point, which is kind of near across the river from that stadium. It was really too tight. And about a week or two ago, they announced plans to open some kind of luxurious European spa that was going to take up a good bit of the ground. Do we need a European spa in DC? I don't know. I don't know. I guess so. If they're going to invest the money building it, you know, I guess. But that kind of takes that out of play. So this is pretty much it, I think. All right. Suzanne, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the series. Makes me feel like I'm doing something important, at least to help somebody. Antoinette, we're going to do one where the pastor and he baptized me in a real river in Southern Maryland. And I said, we're going to do another show about baptisms and going to heaven. And we'll do it in the river and people will pay attention to that. It was pretty interesting. I figured good enough for Jesus, good enough for me. Antoinette, surprise, Arlington, Virginia is not trying to get the Commanders. Listen, the Leonis thing shows, when they couldn't get the Wiz Caps thing, it was dead on arrival. And because the Virginia State House is not going to pay for any big sports facility on the border of D.C., where hardly anybody from down South Virginia will ever use it. And down South Virginia still has a big political pull. And they killed it right away, just like they killed the Redskins Stadium in the same spot years ago. So Virginia's out of this. I don't care what they say. Hi, Joel. Thanks for coming. Steve, isn't all that land all wetlands where it's supposed to be in Poplar Point? Well, there's wetlands along the river and at RFK too. I think I read something like 17 acres would be wetlands. They didn't have wetlands back in 1961 when they built the stadium. They do now. So, especially Anacostia, they've spent so much money to try and clean up the Anacostia. So the wetlands, they get big on wetlands. And you got to remember the federal agency that enforces wetland stuff is here in DC. So you're not going to hide from them. So I don't, that's why it's not really 170 acres. And that's why there can't be so much parking. Because that big parking lot we had right on the river's edge there, I'm sure today they couldn't get that close to the water. Alexander, thanks for coming. Guys are going back to DC. Well, as I just finished talking about, maybe I wish them well. I hope it goes there. And as a Maryland taxpayer, vaya con Dios, man, take it to the DC tax rolls, not mine. But there's just a lot of people that want to get paid and get in the way and all this stuff. So we'll see. That's all I can offer is we'll see. It's not a signed deal or anything. Steve, when Seasons of Discontent podcast coming? I don't know. I was going to call Matt, my partner, and ask him. We've been both busy with trying to do stuff. I think maybe next week we'll do a post-draft one, but if not, then we'll be back in August to do it. Matt's a busy man. He's important now. I'm semi-retired, so I got time. Goof off. Alexander, what is your opinion on Nationalist Park becoming a huge concert venue? They have 20 concerts there? I didn't know there was that many there. As long as you don't screw up the grass, I'm okay with it. But you can't screw up the field. I don't think that's been a problem. And if not, I mean, have I seen a concert there? I don't think so. Last concert, I saw one at RFK, Billy Joel and Elton John. I can tell you, 1995, because it's the day before I had to report to training camp. Maybe the last stadium one I've done. I was in Las Vegas last fall, and I saw the Eagles in the Sphere. Man, mind blowing. If you get a chance to go see that, mind blowing how great this Sphere is. And they're going to build others elsewhere. So 10 years from now, probably be like the basics of entertainment. but the Sphere was so immersive. Like when they played Hotel California, I mean, you felt like you were in the hotel, and you felt like things were moving around you, or in the city with they had buildings go up and down. You felt like you were moving. I was on the floor. It was off. I mean, Joe Walsh was like, I don't understand what's going on around us. So I'm just going to play my song and you watch that stuff. I mean, the band was like, I don't know what's going on. They were pretty blown away by it too. I saw the second night they performed there. Now they say we're only going to be here a couple of times. Well, now they pretty much do every weekend for the past 6 months there, and because people love it so much. Dead and Company are great in the Sphere. I don't know. I haven't heard that one yet. I did love the Sphere though; it was really great. Antoinette, am I doing the draft this Thursday night? No, because they're going to pick if they pick 29th or whatever. I got to talk like this for 3 hours before a pick. No, that's too much. When they were picking second last year, easy peasy. Or when they were 11th or so or 13th, I could pull it off, but it's too much. So, Clayton, I didn't know they were doing a Passion of the Christ sequel next year, but probably. I'm trying to. I'm more into the older you get, the closer to God you become because your days are, we never know when our days are up. You can be up in your 20s, but you pay a little more attention because something's coming. So I don't push my religion. Our show, we don't push religion on anybody. We just explain some things you might be curious about. Steve, might see Jelly Roll at Northwest Stadium. Jelly Roll, man. I mean, he sings well, but those face tats, scares me. That poor guy. I saw where he said he regretted a bunch of his tattoos. Man, yeah, putting tattoos on my face. I don't have any tattoos anyway. In my day, my father really convinced me, don't do it. I know today's young people feel differently. That's their business. But no way. And that probably hurts, doesn't it? You guys are out there. Somebody's got a tat. That had to hurt. I ain't into that. What do the Nats need to do to get better, Alexander? Gotta get a bullpen, man. I think if they could get a decent bullpen, they'll be a decent team. But man, what were they up 12-2 the other day? And they won 12-11. I mean, jeez. Bob Dylan's coming later this year. Wow, Bob Dylan. Alexander. What the hell is this guy saying? Speak up. Open your mouth more. I always felt that about Bob Dylan. What did he say? Yeah. Steve doesn't have any tattoo, huh? But your dad had one in the Marines. My dad had one. He fought in the Korean War in the Army, and he had a tat. He told me it was the dumbest thing he ever did. Antoinette, what was Easter dinner? My brother-in-law smoked a ham. My wife made this great Hawaiian stuffing kind of thing with it, pineapple. It's really great. What else we have? My sister-in-law made homemade pierogies. That were pretty cool because I married Polish family. That was the biggest part. I didn't go hungry. Oh, meatballs and hot dog thing. And I don't know. For once, I don't have to cook, so I'm cool with whatever. Gregor, does your gut expect a deal by New Year's Eve or whatever for the stadium? I'll say yes. I would expect a deal sometime this year. Wherever, whatever. It'll get done this year. Because the team wants to get going. I mean, they're already 3 years later than they wanted to be, thanks to Dan. Let's see. A Complete Unknown was a great movie. Haven't heard of that one, Alexander. I haven't seen Wicked yet either. My granddaughters are like, Grandpa, you got to see Wicked because they're going to make a second one. I don't know. Well, I had to work the day they all went, so I haven't seen it. Joel, Richie Pettibone had a birthday last week. Okay, so what is he, like 85? I haven't seen Richie in years. I think I saw Richie. Last I saw him, they had a Super Bowl ring ceremony for the strike team. That was probably 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. Steve, warm Easter. Yeah, it's warm. Been warm around here in DC. It was almost 90 degrees Saturday. So what did I do? I worked outside in my garden and cut the grass, and I was outside 8 hours and thinking, yeah, but the humidity is not here yet. So that's the key. Richie's 87. Okay. I knew he was older than Joe. So Richie was a fun guy to cover. I liked him a lot. Alexander, saw 90-year-old Frankie Valley. Wow. Last year. I didn't realize he was still around. That's amazing how these performers are all like hitting it in 70s, 80s, 90s. Back when I was a kid, anybody over 30 you didn't trust. And the music changed so much and everybody was young. Now they're all old. What happened to Greg Williams with the DC Defenders? Antoinette. They changed head coaches like, I don't know, a week before the season. There's a lot of chaos going on in the UFL. Anyway, the new head coach, I think, wanted his own guy. And I think Greg just said screw it. So Greg's a smart guy there. But the UFL, what I hear, I'd be surprised if they're back next year. They have some problems. I mean, I'm happy for players. They got a job. They make, they make okay money, and they can play football a few more years of their life where they have to go to work for real of, like anybody else. So the longer you can hold off and have some fun, go ahead and do it. Steve, your aunt turned 90. Woo. All right, good genes. I didn't watch the game about the Defenders. I just happened to see the score. And I saw they had 12,000 at the game, and I had a friend there, and I said, was it really 12,000? He said, yeah, it's probably ballpark number. So on Easter, that's not bad, but you got to remember, DC is 4/5 transplants. Only 1 out of 5 people in DC was born here, like me. That's why we say Washington. It's an old Washington accent. My family's been here since the 1810 census. So a lot of people, not everybody, I guess, can go home. So looking for something to do on Easter. All right, cool. Sure, Easter. Greg, the Rolling Stones look good minus Charlie Watts. He died. Okay. I mean, the Stones are quite too. I mean, if we looked at the Beatles, I know everybody thinks the Beatles, changed the world, and they did. But if you matched up a lot of career stuff, Stones had such a long career. They probably sold more records. I'm just guessing at that, but I was never a big Beatles guy, but I was never really a Stones guy either. Kirk Cousins will never give up. Kirk Cousins' situation right now, he's under contract in Atlanta. They just had to pay him a big roster bonus. There's some talk about a trade. New Orleans really needs a quarterback. If they can't get one in the draft, I could see Cousins being traded there. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. Nobody seems to want to put up with Aaron Rodgers' BS anymore. I don't blame them. So that's what, maybe Kirk's going to one of those two. Kirk's just, collecting checks and finishing out a career. I like Kirk. He was a good guy in Washington. Clayton got a Cherokee purple heirloom tomato plant. Also trying to grow some honeycomb hybrid orange tomatoes from seed. Well, there's a great guy. I haven't seen him on the line tonight, but his name's Tom, who lives near me in Southern Maryland, and who brought his tractor over to my place and tilled my new garden, which is like 50 by 100 feet. It's pretty good size. Thanks to him, he did it in like 10 minutes with a tractor. Boom. It was awesome. I put up pictures of it. So I have a new best friend doing that. So I'm getting ready to plant my corn and sunflowers, and I'm not sure what else. It's just got to worry about it. I want it to rain once around here before I start planting. We've had drought last 2 years. I kind of want to see what happens now. Gregory here, Cleveland Browns is possible. Yeah, that's another one that I could see maybe. I think people see what happens in the draft first, and then if they're out of luck, then they'll try and do it. Will, Tennessee trading out of the first? No, I don't see that. And partly because their quarterback isn't so great that everybody's got to have him. So I don't see that. Joel, Kirk was a great Christian and more. Yeah, he is. He's a great guy. I mean, listen, you can't equate someone's play on the field as to who they are as a human being. Like people always tell me, oh, Heath Schuler is such a jerk. Heath Schuler is a wonderful person. They couldn't find linebackers, kind of hurt his football career. But that didn't make him a bad person. I wish people wouldn't transfer that kind of hatred over. Will, where you been? I've been talking about this. I say they trade down and try and add picks, but if they pick The Commanders will take in the first round. I'm going to go with Jaden Higgins, Iowa State receiver. And my second round pick is the Remington Award winner for best center, Seth McLaughlin, who played at Alabama and Ohio State. He's a baller, so why not? Okay, well, it's 9:00. Well, I'm staying a little later since I was late to class. Antoinette, doing a garden show? What do I know? I'm just some weekend guy trying to do something. I come from a long line of farmers, actually, and many generations of cotton farmers in the South. My dad said, "Screw this. There's no money in it." Came to DC and got a job, and read gas meters and all for 30 years, stuff like that. But maybe I'm going back to the roots and the DNA. I have my grandfather and great grandfather's plow. I got from a cousin before he passed, and it's in the middle of my garden right now. Just put it back in after tilling it. So I have that old one where they used to hook it up to a mule. Amazing. So I've always been a farm guy. Matter of fact, I bought 3.5 acres of an old farm they were cutting up. So this is farmland too. I've got the Amish around me and all. I like it being down here. I like people are nice. All the young women hold the door for me, like, "Here, Grandpa, I've got the door for you." God, I hate that. God, just slam it in my face. Whew, no problem, Grandpa. I got it. I mean, they're being nice, not being a jerk. All right, Clayton. Anybody talking about drafting a linebacker to replace Wagner? I haven't heard that one. I mean, they stopgapped a lot of needs last year, and they got lucky that a lot of guys played great. And they're going one more year with a lot of guys like Wagner and Ertz, and maybe they get another great year out of them. But they got to start infusing young talent into the lineups, and that's what this draft is really about. I mean, you got your quarterback last year, so this year you're going to try and get yourself some young receiver, maybe a linebacker or a corner, or you name it, offensive line, possible. Greg, if the NFL stays at 3 preseason games, I see a fourth. You get a Hall of Fame game. Think they're due. I don't think they're getting a Hall of Fame game this year. And we'll see. Well, the schedule is going to be out more or less around May 14th. They'll do an 8 p.m. show at the NFL Network, have it, but everybody will have it at the same time. So we're, 3 weeks or so away from finding out. I still think they have a chance of playing in this game in Spain, more so than the one down in Brazil. But they've been a while since they've done that, so I could see it. Steve, we would have seen you on Maryland Farm and Harvest. Yeah, that's interesting. Mike, what's the easiest thing to grow in the garden? Corn's pretty easy. Sunflowers are really easy. That's why I'm doing it. Tomatoes. The problem with like melons, like watermelons and cantaloupes and all that, you need some water. You need some rain. I have rain barrels. I have 4 rain barrels because Maryland loves when you get rain barrels. They give you a tax break. They sell it. Maryland, Charles County, where I live, sells the rain barrels for half the price of what they would normally be. And they give you a big tax credit that more than pays for those barrels because they want to try and, keep you out of your groundwater because we don't have the water to keep up. That's a dirty secret down here. We don't have the water for growth and they keep building houses. So they love having alternative ways of doing water. So I do that too. But, you need a crop. That's why people did tobacco too. Tobacco for years paid very well, but it was a very simple thing to grow. And the worse the land, the better the tobacco was. Of course, that's all gone now. They paid them to get rid of it. A lot of tobacco fields are now wineries because it turns out grapes handle the same bad soil that tobacco does. So you call for football, you get a farm report. Whatever. Hit the thumbs up button. There you go. Do I think the international game would be an NFC East foe? I don't think so, Greg. But, Miami's got the one game in Spain, right, if I remember. So I think that's the only chance they really do it. Antoinette, am I going to the Preakness? Nah, I did 33. That's enough. This is the last Preakness at the current Pimlico. Be the 150th. And then after that, they're tearing down Pimlico. They're going to go race the Preakness at Laurel next year. And then hopefully in 2027, the new Pimlico will be ready. Owned by the state of Maryland. Man, it was a big change that everything happened. Just no one writes about horses anymore for people to hear about it. Never give up. Turn to Maryland basketball. Wow, I was talking about that today. Did Maryland make a mistake going to the Big Ten? Financially, no. Historically, well, the problem is the ACC now is not the ACC I grew up with. I loved it because it was South. A lot of people in Washington have relatives in the South, like me. My dad was from Carolina, so North Carolina, and so you had family you could argue with over stuff. My cousins were NC State fans. You don't have that. I don't know anybody in Iowa or Michigan or Wisconsin. I got nothing against these people. I don't hate their teams. I don't know anybody. But that's kind of been the hard part. But the ACC as it is now, they might as well have gone to the Big Ten. They're probably better off in the end. And Maryland's got to get themselves a new athletic director. So we'll see what that person thinks about all this. Do I get my water from a well, Antoinette? Yeah, I do. It's I bought a new home 2 years ago, built it. They drilled the well, I think like 450 feet down. When I grew up as a kid, our well, you could see the water 6, 8 feet down. But I lived in a swampy area south of town. Now it goes way down, which is probably better. It's probably cleaner. But you have to pay attention to these things when you live off the grid in a way. I don't have a water bill to pay every month. That's nice. Craven, will you be covering the Commanders this season? Yes. Yeah, I was on the Junkies, I think last Thursday, maybe. Forget what day it is. I was like, wow, I hadn't talked to them in a while. I was the first media guest of the Junkies when they started their weekend show back in the mid 90s. So we're old. I don't want to say we're necessarily friends, but we know each other well. To me, friends come to my house, or I go to theirs. They're people I know. I know lots of people, but how many friends do all of us have? We're lucky if we have more than a few. And I'm lucky that I have. That's what happens when you stay in one place all the time. Joel, miss the old ACC. Yeah, me too, man. I miss the old ACC. I got a chance after I had my heart attack in 2002 to spend a couple of years covering the ACC while I was going through surgeries and all that. It made it a little easier on me. I loved going back to see the old ACC places. It's great rivalries. But yeah, I'll be covering the Commanders this season. After that, I don't know, man. I'm getting old. I started covering sports in Washington in 1978, as in like 6 years after Watergate. So none of us last forever. But I'm writing for Yard Barker occasionally. I'll write a little more once the season starts, but yardbarker.com, it's an old sports site. They have a lot of Commanders content on there. So I'm writing for them and Rick Snider's Washington. I do the videos and we'll see what else. We still have other things. Craven, glad to hear me back on the radio. Well, when they call, I try to do it. Grew up listening to the Junkies. That's scary. Were you scarred? I talked to Dan Quinn and Josh Harris. Not lately, but yes, I have a number of times. I want to tell you when I met Peters, he said, "Hey man, I saw your pizza report on this place, and we went and ate there." I thought, great, one of my pizza reviews. That's what you talk to me about. That's how he'll remember me, the pizza guy. All right. I went, Boomer was quarterback. Steve, I went to Maryland too when Boomer was there. I think Boomer's 1 year older than me. Steve, do you think they'll get rid of the preseason and start the regular season earlier when they announce 18 games? No, because preseason games, they still get to charge all the money and they pay players much less. Oh, sorry. And so they make too much money that way because it's part of the ticket package and you got to pay for them. And they don't pay players a fraction of what they pay in regular season. So they just make the money. But 2 would be fine. If they went to 2, I wish they could go back to the days of having the rookie scrimmage the first weekend of camp. I would love that. It was a lot of fun to watch that. Joel was born the year I started covering sports. So I've been doing this as long as you've been alive, Joel. Some of it was even good. John Jill loves me. I'm not sure if I'd rather Jill love me than John, but, thank you. I appreciate it on there. Yeah, Joe, I've been doing this since before you were born. I mean, it's funny with players. There was a player a few years ago who said, "Oh, I'm worried about my grandparents. There's a big storm coming their way." And somebody said, "Oh, yeah, how old are they?" And he goes, 58. I'm like, F you. It's like, really? I'm old enough to be your grandfather? I mean, I am almost. Well, I probably could be a lot of them. I'm 40, 45 years older than some of them. Yeah, I could be somebody's grandfather, I guess. They treat me well. Maybe it's because of my age now. The players treat me with a lot more respect, I guess, because I am older and versus when I was young covering it and they all said F off. You know, what I mean, it's a little different. It's a perk of being older, and it's also a perk of when you get older not to worry about what people think. Screw them. Never give up. Do you think lefties not getting the love that Gary has received? Um, I would agree with that partly because Gary's more contemporary and, of course, alive. Lefty passed away last year. Gary did win a national title. Gary was, I would say, one of the smartest people I've ever covered, but also sometimes his own worst enemy, being paranoid about things. Not that he was wrong, but he was fascinating to cover Gary. And I like Gary. Haven't seen him in a few years, but when last time we talked like normal people. You know, Steve, the Super Bowl will be in late February when 18 game. Nah, I think they're gonna, it'll be President's Day weekend, whatever that is, mid to late February. Maybe you could call it late February. That's fine. I don't miss football in the off season though. Get to take a breath. When will the Nationals get a new owner, Antoinette? Doesn't seem like the learners are really serious about selling, so no time soon. Steve, and the Super Bowl will be in late February, win 18 games. Yeah, and they're going to have two buys. You're going to take away a preseason game. Maybe they start back on Labor Day. They could even do just 1 week between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. That has happened in the past. Usually things like 9/11, stuff like that change the schedule. So it's possible. It's somewhere around. They want to be. I don't quite get it why everybody says they should have it with President's Days on Mondays. People have to go to work. Yeah, but the game is over even in the East by 10:30, 10 o'clock. So most people don't go to bed before that anyway. I mean, most people. So I don't get it why you have to have the next day off. I mean, if you're blotto drunk or whatever, but put a leave card in. I don't see the big need for it to have a holiday on Monday, but whatever. All right. Do I have a team I'm pulling for in the NBA playoffs, Clayton? Well, the Wiz didn't make it, so they missed it by about, I don't know, 20 games. But and I'm not really somebody who worries about the rest of it. I just kind of watch a player here and there. I like college basketball more than I do pros. It's too long. It's too slow most of the time. They get excited more in the playoffs, but I'll just watch without a dog in the fight. The Caps? Where's the Caps play yet? Yeah, the Caps playing. What's the score? I've been too busy. Anybody got a Cap score? I'm not a big hockey fan, but I wish them well. Love to see Ovi get another title. Steve, it's been 23 years since the Maryland men won the title. God, man, it's hard to believe. Oh, good. The Caps won it 2-0. What period? Clayton, I like watching Steph and Luca. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Steph makes crazy shots. When you watch the NCAA championship, there were some guys making threes from mid-court. It's pretty awesome. Joel, Washington plays a fifth place schedule. Yeah, it's tough. They got a tough schedule coming. And somebody said, why does the Eagles have an easier percentage schedule than Washington? It's simply because Washington's playing the Eagles twice, who won all those games in the Super Bowl, where Philadelphia is playing Washington twice. You get it? So it's each had Washington didn't win as many, so their percentage isn't as high. So it's really virtually the same schedule. The only difference in the percentages are those two playing each other. Ooh, the third period, good. Antoinette, normally, hey, I make my living in football, so I don't mind it going on forever. But I will say this past season felt longer than normal. And it was the first season in forever there wasn't drama everywhere. It was just football. And I remember, like, By the time the bye came, I was really tired. I do hope the NFL stops this. 3 straight years of the second week of December for the bye. That's ridiculous. All buys should be in October, November. That's it. Figure it out. Play one less game a week, whatever. It's too late by then. That's hard. Ovi scored the first goal. Good for him. Never give up about college players getting paid. It's ruined college sports. It's just minor league. And I asked somebody yesterday, I don't know the answer to this. Do players still have to go to class because they have a contract with the school now to be paid? Maybe it's in the contract. You got to stay academically eligible. I don't know because it's not about that anymore. And listen, all these one and done college players, well, all you got to do is go to school the first semester, take 4 dumb classes, 101s, and then you don't finish. You don't even go to class the second semester because you're not going to be here for the end of the semester. They all figure they'll go pro and they leave school before the end of the second semester. So they're really only here to take speech 101 and stuff like that for a semester. And that's their loss. They miss an opportunity to be better educated people. And they figure, well, I'm going to make all this money. Whatever. Yeah, but dumb people lose that money. Clayton, I hope the Eagles defense falls off and we win our division. Yeah, me too. They did lose some players. That's the NFL way. You get great, and then free agency allows those players to go cash in more elsewhere. And so it hurts your team, just like coaches. I mean, a lot of good teams lose their assistants. Look at Detroit, lost their 2 coordinators. They've got to rebuild from that. No, Steve, playoff goals don't count that way. So they don't count against that. I didn't know that either until someone told me recently. I've forgotten it. Antoinette, do you think Commanders get a Thanksgiving or Christmas Day game? I would be very sure that they'll win a Thanksgiving Day game. They'll get one of those against Dallas. I'm pretty sure that Christmas, not really sure on that. Well, it must be getting bad. My wife just closed the door. She don't want to hear me. I hope not, because if it's on Christmas, I'm not watching. 2 days a year, I do not work. Christmas and Easter, God's days. I don't work. I don't care. Usually Christmas has never been a problem before. Easter is in the football off season, so it's been easier for me. Except the year they traded for McNabb, but that was at night, so it was after dark. So moved on. Joel, the year Washington played New York in a bye at New York and Washington, stupid. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. Steve, I remember they beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving 2012 for RG3's rookie year. Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, they still have a losing record against the Cowboys, but whenever they win on Thanksgiving, you remember that one. A little extra bore. Just to have some fun. I covered some of those games, but nowadays I don't travel because no one's paying for it, so I'm not doing it. I watch on TV like you, but I go out to the park when I can and that stuff. Never give up. McNabb, a Hall of Famer? Yeah, I don't think so. He was a good player for Philly, not here. Steve, won 2 quarters in the poll. All right. You're rolling along. All right. So if I made up my penance for time, more or less. If you'd like to donate money to us or you want to buy a book, I have that in there on the list. If you came late to the show, if you look on the comment line, if you would like a copy of 100 Things Commanders Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. It's 100 stories. They're all short. A lot of fun stuff. I updated it a couple years ago. We used to be Redskins. You can't get a Redskin book anymore. Then $20 shipping and handling included. So PayPal and Venmo are on there. If you buy it from Amazon, I don't get any money. This one I make a few dollars. I make like $5 or something doing it that way. Did I go to Thanksgiving Day against the Giants? Yes, that was a night game, Antoinette, if I remember. Yeah, I covered that. Steve, I have to wait for next season. Okay. Suzanne, thank you so much. Do appreciate it. Try and make a few bucks here in my old age. Medicare, I'm getting on Medicare soon. It's going to cost me a lot of money. Oh, it's free? Yeah, my butt, it's free. Because if you want a prescription plan, it costs a lot of money. And you can't keep your old one so much. And finally somebody told me with Medicare, said, listen, We need people that were well off enough like you to pay for those who don't. And so it's a socialist program, and you're getting the worst end of it. Okay, well at least you admitted it. Yeah. So you get tax breaks when you turn 65 in this country. You get double deductions on the federal, and I'm in Maryland. We do too. So that money will basically cover my Medicare costs, and so I'll break even. So can't take it with you, and Maryland doesn't want to give it to you. Stevie, Lucas and Dixon, great players. Yeah, Lucas was better on there, and still, if we had to talk who the greatest player ever was, well, that's another show. Don, what's good at Captain Billy's? I was there last week. I don't know what else is good besides the crab cake sandwich. It's all I eat. Or the crabs. The crabs were kind of small. My wife likes the crab melt. Um, I've had the shrimp, but it's breaded. It's like any other place. I try to eat fresh on seafood. Okay, so we're good on that. All right. So if you have tuned in late, you want to see whatever part of the show you missed, because we did do 56 minutes. Even though I was late, sorry. Grandkids got me going. I forgot the time. But anyway, you can, as soon as the show's over, it replays it. You can see it all till you don't want to see anymore. And Lucas was great. There we go. By the way, Lucas was a great player. Back then, you couldn't play freshman. You had to wait a year. You had to play on JV. So anyway, so you can see that videos are at 6 in the morning every day, and mostly in the evening too, around dinner time. And this week's the draft, so there'll be stuff to put in there. Tomorrow, Adam Peters will talk to the media. He won't say anything, and I'll give you a stupid video. I say the two stupidest things I cover every year are a GM talking about the draft when they say nothing, unless you're number one, and the Derby winning horse would get off the van at Baltimore for the Preakness, and I'd watch the horse get off and be led to a stall, and I thought, okay, that's it. It's not like I got to yell at him and say, "Hey, horse, hey, champ, how you won the Derby? You going to win the Preakness?" It's not like he looks at me and goes, "Oh, I'll just kick their butt." He goes, "Their mother." Oh, wait a minute, their mother is your mother. I mean, your daddy is my dad. What am I going to talk to with the horses? I mean, it was just stupid, and the trainers were too busy to talk to you. It's a total waste of time. So is the end of pre-draft concepts. The only good line Vinny Serrato ever had, as he says, "I'm sleeping like a baby. I wake up every 2 hours and cry." That was Vinny's joke. It's an old joke. Vinny didn't create it, but it was still funny. Hope I didn't eat too much for Easter. Come on, Steve. You got to root for me. Okay, Don, are you going to make your Derby picks? Yes. On the chat next week? No. I don't pick the Derby till the day before. It's just like I think last year, heavy favorite was hurt. Never bet the Derby until the day before. Make sure everybody's in one piece. Steve, if only Len Bias was with us, probably greatest player, Maryland, in your lifetime. I covered Lenny in high school, believe it or not, Northwest. And I covered him at Maryland. And probably the biggest story of my career was his death. We covered that for every day. There was something in the news for like 6 months. I wasn't covering Maryland, but I had to cover this, and I got my butt kicked every day. Guys like Mark Asher of the Post and all just destroyed me. I learned a lot. I learned if you want to be, it sucks being number two, so work harder to be number one. So I still tell people that now. Drafts at Lambeau. Yeah, I saw they were expecting 250,000 overall for 3 days, which is, trust me, Green Bay's in the middle of nowhere. It's a small town. That's a big number. That's bigger than, say, 750 in Detroit. And so Green Bay is nice if it's, July or September, but by October, it's starting to get cold up there. So been there a number of times. People are nice there too. People are nice a lot of places. Around here sometimes I wonder on them. All right, I guess we're done. Found the bell. Anyway, I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Thank you all for coming so much. I appreciate it. Sorry for being late. And Steve, I do think the draft will come here, but before the new stadium. I think the draft will be here in the next few years on there. So I'll close out. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. I will see you again next week. We'll talk draft. And then after that, we'll be talking camps and all that jazz. So anyway, see you, everybody. Bye.